Yeah, I screwed up. Okay, last week, Erica and I went to Disney and Universal on her vacation. And I was doing some filming, and I turned the sound off on the camera so as not to get, any copyrighted music and stuff when I was doing the parade and things. Well, I kind of forgot to turn it back on. Hence, I recorded an entire review with no sound. I started off, and as for why I'm here in the office, I don't feel like going down to the garage to do this. Anyway, when I started the original review, I had mentioned that I had some misgivings about the film before I would see it. I'm a fan of the Agatha Christie novels and of the character of Poirot, and I had read the book Hallowe'en Party, which this is based on, and there is no seance in the book. The book is about a teenager, probably around 13 or 14, who says at a Halloween party that she saw someone commit a murder. No one believes her because she tends to tell stories all the time, and then she ends up murdered during the party. And attending the party is Mrs. Oliver, a famous mystery writer who is basically a parody of Agatha Christie herself. And Mrs. Oliver is famous for her Finnish vegetarian detective who goes around cutting vegetables and peeling them all the time. Sort of a little bit of a jibe at some of Christie's creation of Poirot and his eccentricities. Can't speak anymore. And that plot hinged on a woman who committed murder because she was in love with a man who was a gardener, and he had this dream of making this beautiful work of art that was a garden, and so she wanted him to have his dream, and so she was killing to get the money for that. That's not this film. We open in Venice, whereas the original novel was set in England, of course. And Poirot, it is implied, this is set in 1947, and it's implied that he has retired due to losing his faith in humanity and in God due to the things he's witnessed in the last war. And he has kind of closed himself off from everyone and everything. And then Mrs. Oliver shows up, played by Tina Fey, who's surprisingly good, although Mrs. Oliver was always shown to be older in the books and in the David Suchet series, where she seemed to be in her 60s, and Fey looks, although I'm not sure of her age, she's probably in her 50s like I am. But if I'm wrong, I'll look it up and then put the answer here. Anyway, she convinces Poirot, who's kind of withering away, to come out with her to enjoy Halloween there in Italy. One of the things that we Americans imported during our time overseas. And he seems to enjoy it, and then she invites him to a seance. Why? Because she believes this woman is a charlatan but cannot prove it, and wants Poirot to help. He's reluctant, but, well, there is going to be a Halloween party there, and he does like kids. That's one of the things they carried over from the novels. that I like is that Poirot and children always kind of had a certain meshing, because he's such an odd figure that the kids are amused by him, and he does not talk down to children. He considers them to be just as intelligent and individual as adults, and he treats them accordingly, and they appreciate that. So he enjoys watching the kids play the games, and then afterwards, after the children leave, the seance is going to begin, and we get our medium, played by the always awesome Michelle Yeoh. And no kung fu in this movie, though. More's a pity. I always liked her action films. But, she's trying to contact a child that had committed suicide. And the mother is anxious to hear from her. And she kind of connects and says it was a murder, and she can't quite see. She'll have to have another one tomorrow. And wouldn't you know it, not an hour later, she shows up murdered. Pro suffers a blow to the head before that. And they are kind of trapped in the villa because there's a huge storm, and the water in Venice, I don't know exactly what they call the waterways there, but they're rising. The police can't get there, and they're kind of trapped. And Poirot is going to have to start working on this murder. He's got a lot of suspects, and he is unfortunately starting to see and hear things. These could be from the blow to his head, or they could be supernatural. As I have not seen the Branagh version of Death on the Nile. I have seen Murder on the Orient Express, and I have some issues with his interpretation. Mainly, he keeps getting into these action scenes in that one. And I'm like, Poirot does not get involved in shootouts or chases. He is a completely cerebral detective. He thinks, he questions, he runs it all through his little gray cells, and boom, he realizes the solution. This is a good whodunit, but it's not really Christie. And the main themes of the film are post-war malaise. We have one character who is a shell-shocked doctor who actually came upon the Holocaust, one of the Holocaust camps, and it broke him. And we have a precocious child, his child, and we have, of course, the medium. There's the ex-fiance of the dead girl, the mother, the, I guess you'd say, au pair, who is an ex-nun who fell in love and left the convent. And we have the medium's assistants, who are a couple of Hungarian scalawags, shall we say, a brother and sister con team. And there is also the threat of the approaching storm, or the storm that's there, and the water's rising and playing havoc with the foundations of the building they're in. And the other major theme is in betrayal. The reason for the murder is betrayal. The original murder deals with betrayal. Poirot himself deals with some personal betrayals. It's a big theme in the film. As a mystery, it was enjoyable. And the solution was pretty good. And one I'm not sure you would see coming, but you may. But it's not Agatha Christie. And it is not Hercule Poirot. No matter what people give to Branagh. I mean, he's a good filmmaker, and he's a good actor, but this just isn't the role for him, but people seem to like it in it. I will say he has toned down the mustache to a more believable extent. Whereas in Murder in the Orient Express, it was this monstrosity that was ridiculous, with like second and third tiers to it. But it's a decent mystery, some good spookiness surrounding it. But of course, as with films of this type, there is always a logical and human reason for what happens. So I'd say it's a middling film. Not up with like the Albert Finney Murder on the Orient Express, or even Ustinov's for Death on the Nile, but they all pale compared to David Suchet anyways. Well, that's about all I have to say for this one. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.